We're back, Southwest Florida. Welcome back to Lee Pitts Live. And you may be saying, where are we right now? Well, we're in Clemente Park, the historic park in the city of Fort Myers, in the Dunbar community, right off the Martin Luther King Boulevard in Henderson. And we're under the tree series. And guess who we got under the tree today here on Lee Pitts Live here in November? We get a chance to talk to the famed candidate for the city of Fort Myers, mayoral candidate, Jacquelyn McMiller. She's still out. She's still smiling. Got a new hairstyle. Got a little Beyonce going on. Jackie, welcome to Lee Pitts Live.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Girl, you still smiling after that long race?
Oh my goodness! Yes, I have to.
Okay, so I want to do an interview where people get to know about how you felt, what things were going on in your mind as you were moving through the process. Now, first of all, the fact that we're doing this interview in the heart of the Dunbar community, right here on the property of the Lee County Black History Society, a Black History Museum. It's behind those trees. You made history, getting more votes than any other candidate for the mayor of Fort Myers, African American, in the history of this city, which is over 100 years old. How did that make you feel to know that you were part of history?
I'm ecstatic. I really didn't even understand the gravity of what was happening when I decided to run, and that just goes to show, as I always will say, Fort Myers is phenomenal. This is an awesome city, and it just you know, with little old me stepping out and doing what I did, and knowing that I didn't do it by myself. This was a collaboration of a lot of people.
And typically when I got a chance to interview you during the campaign, I have a whole lot of constraints around time and a whole lot going on around me. Today we get a chance to relax for a little bit. You were very relaxed. You got your hair done over. You got a new style going on. Got your smile and everything. This is your community. You feel right now, by me doing this interview here as opposed to some starchy place, this is exactly where you would like to be, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is showing the growth that we've had. It's gorgeous. We picked a perfect day to do this today, and but this is Fort Myers, and Fort Myers is the crux of this entire area, if you ask me. And just to see the growth that we've had, and the community growth that we've had, and the people, you couldn't ask for better.
Now, Henderson Avenue right here, Martin Luther King Boulevard right there. You walked these, rode your bicycle around here as a child.
I did.
Right. As all of that growing up in this area, did it ever dawn on you that one day you would step out and maybe try to be a person of change, that you always have in the back of your mind that you're going to be something one day, at that type of thought process?
I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
That was my first thought, but always fighting for a cause. But I never thought, of course, at that time, because I used to ride my bike. This was Anderson Avenue back in the day.
Right.
So I would ride my bike to, to softball practice, and we felt safe, and I didn't realize, like I told some other people, I didn't realize that it was so-called unsafe, until I heard it on the news.
Right.
But this area has grown, and the growth has been amazing. But knowing that now we have this beautiful area, we have new families, and they're growing up, and just knowing that I have been a part of that is absolutely humbling.
A lot of tradition. It even came out during your campaign for mayor of the city of Fort Myers. Even though you didn't succeed in that process, many people still see you as a success in the whole journey and open up doors for the future. One of the things that came out tremendously in that process was the tradition of this community, where this community may go in the future as the city of Fort Myers implements its redevelopment processing, the value of the properties, the gentrification, people having to move out, and all of that tradition and things that they had in their history, and their parents and grandparents who toiled on these soils for many years. That came out in a real way and became front and center in your campaign.
And which it should have. We can never forget where we came from. That's the root of who we are. And as we know, you cannot grow a tree does not flourish unless the roots are solid and they're being cultivated properly. And that's what I would want, and that's what I work for with the city, is to make sure that we continue to cultivate the Dunbar area, that we cultivate the history of Dunbar, but not only just Dunbar, but the entire city of Fort Myers. And much of it was forgotten. The only thing that most people were talking about was the bust of Robert E. Lee, and there's so much more to that. But and we need to focus on that. We need to reinvest in that. Reinvest in the homes that are still standing and rebuild those homes. And stop pushing people out into Lehigh area, making sure that we invest in the area that we have, the homes that we have, and the people.
When people say, okay, the campaign is over, we have a mayor, a new mayor, Kevin Anderson, is Jacquelyn McMiller still going to have a voice? Is she still going to be out there talking? Is she going to use all that power that she had, garnering all of those votes to make sure that we keep our eye on the ball? What is Jacquelyn McMiller going to be doing going forward as it relates to the city of Fort Myers?
I am organizing. I am working on building a civic organization, a coalition. One of the things that I always bring from anything is, what can I do better? What could I have done better? And not looking at it as a loss, but this is a gain in knowledge, and anytime you have a gain in knowledge, there's never, ever a loss. And that was one of the things I found, that a lot of people really didn't understand the whole voting process. And, the gravity of local politics, of how important it is in understanding when to vote, what a unilateral election is compared to a general election. And these are some of the things I learned during my campaign in and of itself. I want to educate people. Knowledge is power. And one thing that you have that no one can take away is your knowledge. And once you get that, and then you start to utilize that, and then your children start to utilize that knowledge, and their kids start to utilize it, it is unstoppable. And I want the people of the city of Fort Myers, our people in this community, to be unstoppable. That's what I plan on being.
Now, the organization that you mentioned that you were organizing, if people want to become a part of that, is there a website or a phone number, or hit you up on Facebook just to start being a part of this process?
Definitely hit me up on Facebook. I'm looking for leaders. I want to start cultivating leaders here in the city, and I don't want, it's just like being a parent. As I told Mr. Anderson, our new mayor-elect, that sometimes we make tough decisions as parents that our children cannot appreciate. And that goes to the mask mandate that I was referring to. People may not like it as a whole, but you're doing the right thing to protect the people. So when I say, this organization that I'm building, reaching out to me on Facebook, I want anyone who is interested in becoming a leader, needing that mentorship. I had several people that contacted me requesting me to be their mentor, which was just amazing, and I want to do that. I don't want them to go through what I went through as a learning process. I want to make it easier, that path easier for them.
Prior to you running for mayor, you were active in the community, a businesswoman, civil rights, NAACP, you did some work down in Naples, counseling and all types of things. But when you ran for mayor, you went from a normal everyday citizen to like a hip hop star. I want to say a rock star, but I want to give a hip hop star some credit, or R&B star. Let's stop saying rock star. Anyway, so you went to, like, what was that like to go from 0 to 1,000 like that, and all of a sudden cameras and people and everybody requesting your time? It was just a fantastic period.
It was. It to see how I catapulted to this stratosphere. It was just amazing, because I've always been quiet. I've always been that listener more than I talk, and just to see it in the feedback that everyone gave me and the support that they gave me. And it made me wanted to work harder. I wanted to work harder. I want to do more, and it just has me excited.
Now, I told you this before, but when I was watching you working, I was like, I couldn't do. I would be too tired. I'm like, man, she's everywhere. And you do an outstanding job. You caught her on the social media. You start working the social media. You're just learning along the way, and just, I mean, it was a fantastic time. I think it was the most exciting time to me in my 35 years or so of being in the Fort Myers community. It was the most exciting time for politics at the local level that I have ever seen, especially in the minority community.
Wow.
Did you get that sense of things too, or did people tell you that as well?
I heard it. I couldn't even feel anything. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day.
It was exciting.
It was exciting, and it was, I didn't even realize I was tired. I literally slept for 3 days after the campaign. And it's like, once I did that, even when I was sleeping, I'm figuring out what is it else I can do, so and it's self-care, making sure you take care of yourself during the campaign, which my team very much did, and I pushed along, and I was insistent on being out. It's not even asking, do I have to? You have to. If you're going to get out and you want the people to hear you and listen to you, I mean, I was a mom and grandparent, and I just took care of myself and my kids. And then when I decided to do this, I had to take it up several notches, because people really didn't know me.
I wish I could recall this, but I remember looking at the statistics. You might can help me on this, but roughly how many votes did you lose by?
Little bit less than 2,000.
Right, I know that's a small number, right? And 2,000 votes.
2,000 votes.
Okay, and I can't remember the number of votes that you got and all that. I don't know if you remember the amount.
I don't. I know we had about an 86% turnout, which was amazing.
Amazing. For now, losing by such a small amount, did it hurt you more to lose by such a small amount than had you gotten beaten by a larger amount and knowing how close you were?
No, it didn't. Because as I say, I never look at anything as a loss, but I started late. I decided to run very, very late in the game.
Right.
And for lack of a better word, in the campaign. But because of the lateness and just thinking about the fact that we made up all of that time and that space and just getting the word out and saying, I'm here, I'm running for mayor, support me and get behind me and everything. What the people did was amazing. It wasn't really me. All I did was get on social media, I got on the news and everything. They were the ones who listened. They had their ear there and they were listening, and they liked what they heard. The railroad tracks right up the street here at Cranford, I think it is. Across those railroad tracks, you're in kind of downtown area. You've heard the stories about you had to be on this side of the tracks, before sundown, or you would be a black person would be in a whole lot of trouble on that side of the tracks before sundown. Now we have a candidate like you who's all over on that side of the track, all over the place. How did you get received in the white community as you were moving around McGregor Boulevard or what have we? I know it was the pandemic was going on, so I don't know if you got a chance to really knock on a lot of doors or go to deal with people in person. But how did you feel any racism? We deal with racism daily.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, and this is one of the things that I want to make sure that people understand as well from this civic group that I'm organizing, is that everyone faces it differently. You as a black male faces it differently than I as a black woman does. And we need to understand the different dynamics of that. But overall, I would say 95% of it was very, very positive. There were times where I knocked on doors and they were like, these were true Trumpsters or whatever. I've even, changed a couple of them over. I had some dinner invitations.
Right.
So that was even better. But the thing about it is having conversations and dialogue. And that was a great thing. We may disagree, but we could have that dialogue to kind of have people to understand where I'm coming from. They can help me understand where they're coming from, and that's how change starts.
Now, in politics, as you started to become a more formidable opponent, as the race started to build, and people start saying, "Hey, we got a candidate here." Your opponents start looking at you and start, oh. Then you got past the general election. Then it's like, oh, who is that? Where does she come from? I was just waiting to see when was it going to get negative. When were they going to try to start finding some things that weren't necessarily true and embellishing stories and painting you as somebody who was like a radical or things of that nature. Talk about that and how that impacted with you when things started to get negative.
It was sad to some extent, but not on my end. I expected, this is a local race, and we are representative of the people. So you always have to maintain your self-respect, as your identity and your integrity, and that's what I was committed to doing. Although some negative things came out, I've never been in trouble before, other than what there were the allegations and everything. But I wanted people to realize that it could happen to me. And these things with law enforcement that we hear all the time on the news, and the negative things with the judicial system and the system of itself, the systemic racism, the systemic inequality, it happens. And what better person to come out and represent the people as a whole, because I'm not holding anyone personally responsible. I'm holding the system itself responsible. And we have to address it. And I wanted to let everyone know, I'm going to face it head on. I'm not going back and hide. I want to let everyone know that you not only will you get past it, but also you can let people know that this happened. They were bad against me. There were lies that were done against me, but it's not going to hold me down. And that's what children need to see, because we always have to, we're going to fall no matter what, but we also have to rise up, but we're going to rise up stronger. And that's always what I've been committed to.
Are you going to be announcing something soon, surprising us with something soon? Are you eyeing any other political offices here locally? I mean, you got all this momentum, you got this name recognition now. You don't have to build name recognition. Break some news right here on Lead Pitch Live. Tell me something.
I'm weighing my options.
Okay.
I'm actually in discussions with, before my campaign ended, I was already in discussions with Andrew Yang. He's a former presidential candidate, and getting some possible things going here within the city. I'm also really working on trying to do the same thing that our girl Stacey Abrams did in Georgia.
Yes.
Trying to bring that here.
Turned it blue.
We all it takes is some hard work.
Isn't it?
And I want to be the feet on the ground. I want to be that voice, but I
you
want to get other
definitely
people
can.
into it.
That's right.
And if we can start doing that and building that coalition, that's what I'm really excited for. God, I didn't win this race for a reason, because He had other plans for me to do. There's another job for me to do.
Local Stacey Abrams. I like it.
Yes.
Hey, check this out now. Going back to the 2,000 votes, and I know you saw the write-up that I did as it relates to how your campaign was the luminous moment that we could have actually had an African American, how close we came to that process. I know you didn't know I would do something like that.
I did.
I just kind of sit back and watch things, and people don't, I observe a lot of things. But one of the things I observed in the process, I was like quietly calculating, because I don't really get out with a television show. I have never really gotten out into politics like that, because I have to interview all of these people. So I always kind of maintain my conservative neutrality on surface. But I got out in front in a lot of stuff this time, endorsing people and saying a whole lot of things, because I can do it. And I think because I can do it because I'm free, okay? I don't have to worry about somebody coming after me and taking my this and that and other. Those days are long gone, thank God. So I decided, I'll just say some things. But one of the things that I said many institutions could have gotten behind you. Those institutions could have easily pushed you forward. When I say institution, like various organizations, churches, political groups, sororities, fraternities, sporadically, all of them had some input, positives towards you, but as a collective and a big machine moving forward, just say all the churches, all the pastors, all the black this. I'm going with the black piece because there were a lot of people white who supported you, but you have a black candidate in a city like this running, you really have to have a big hug around the black community, dominate those votes. I thought you could have gotten more support in that vein. Speak to that.
It was what it was. But I always say that we can look back and we can either cry over it or we can learn from it.
Okay.
And that is the other thing. It was name recognition as well. Many people didn't know who I was. And I'm very, very strong, and I have a strong belief in, if I'm going to support you and I'm going to put all of this work into you and I'm going to put my name there for you, I need to know you, and I will say maybe that was what did not happen. But I can't do it all by myself. I need those organizations to reach out to me sometimes.
True.
As a candidate, if it's like you're working every day and you got all of these things. So reach out to those candidates. Say you want to get to know them, and put in the effort, because we have to do it together. And by those votes, it shows that if we had been together as a whole, it would have been amazing.
Right. Did you ever get the sense throughout the process that many felt that you needed to pay your dues? Like, how are you going to come from nobody to running for mayor? You didn't run for city council. You haven't been in any elected office. You need to pay your dues first. You need to work your way up the hard way. You jumping all over people. Go.
Our ancestors did that. Our dues have been paid a long time
I
ago.
love it.
And for no reason, because if we have smart people, we have capable people, and we have people that are willing to go out there, because I had to put my name out there, and I was going to get bashed, and I knew I was. If you are willing, you have a person that's willing to make that sacrifice, they shouldn't have to go through city council, or they shouldn't have to jump through all of these hoops. I've had to jump through hoops all of my life, being a professional, and if driving to Naples, being disappointed because I graduated at the top of my class here and I couldn't find a job here in Fort Myers, and having to drive to Naples every day one way for an hour and a half. That was my hoops. My ancestors paid the way for that. They paid through that. They jumped those hoops, and they laid down their lives for me. So we, as a black people, should not expect that someone has to earn their way up. You'll be 80, 90 years old before you're able to do anything.
Oh, that's a good point.
We've earned it. We've earned it. Our ancestors have earned it for us, as long as we're willing to work for it.
Talk about the appreciation that you have for, because I don't think I've talked to you, right, I don't know if you've even had a sit-down interview. There are very few people who do sit-down interviews, so you probably haven't had a television sit-down interview since your election. But the opportunity for you to thank all of those people who got behind you throughout that whole process to get you to that high point in politics.
I've literally been on the phone, and I've been calling, and I'm still calling every single donor.
Really?
They deserve, I don't care if it was $4, I don't care if it was $1,000 max. I am calling every single donor. That was over 300 people that donated to my campaign. And I raised about $78,000 compared to my opponent, who only had 60, but he raised 140. So that tells you that money was pushing this whole thing. However, I had the vote of the people. I had the support of the people. And I want to bring that back. And I wanted to let them know personally that they are truly appreciated, and they will be appreciated in my next run,
Whatever your adventure will be, I'll
whatever it may
be
be.
following you. I'll get the breaking news. Hey, let's go with the money.
Hmm.
I want to stay with that for a second. At least one more question on that. The general population who are listening to us now, when you say money drove everything, they may say, okay, what do you mean, really? I mean, if people are going to vote for you, money doesn't matter. Tell them how money matters leading up to the voting. It's a lot in terms of campaign materials, getting
Hmm.
the word out, being. Go ahead and explain to an average person how money plays such a huge role
Oh, it's
in
huge.
politics.
The mailers are the most expensive. The ones that you got in the mail where it was telling you about my
Platform.
agenda, my platform, my policies, and everything. Those are the most expensive things, and that could be $4,000 and $5,000, $6,000 for just one mailer, and also
Really?
depending upon who it's going to.
Hmm.
You want to reach everyone within the city because you're running for the mayor, and that's extremely expensive.
That's at large
Oh,
too. That's like
very
the whole
much.
city, not a
Absolutely.
ward.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, you have signs, you have advertising as far as radio advertising, advertising on Facebook. You have to pay for Facebook. You have to pay for access to the voter files. So it's extremely expensive,
Mm.
to run. And I did very, very well.
Then you have to pay. Do you have to pay people who working for your campaigners too? There may be a person or two
Hmm.
on salary, like your campaign manager and things like that.
Yes, you do. And you really want to compensate the people who are out on the ground knocking on doors, because this was a little different because I did have a lot of volunteers, but there was also people that this was COVID. Many people didn't have a job, so you really want to try to compensate those people who are working for you. It's just the right thing to do,
Okay.
So 90% of my time, I would have loved to have been out and knocking on doors myself so people would get to know me, but the majority of that time was on the phone making phone calls and raising funds.
What do you say to some people who say, "Well, her nephew is Sammy Watkins, the famous football player, Kansas City Chief, Super Bowl champion, and all of that, wide receiver, native of Dunbar. We could have seen him being more visible with you, walking around with you, uh, doing some posts, saying some things on his phone from wherever he was." What do
Hmm.
you say to those people? Why we see more of Sammy Watkins?
COVID had a lot to do with it. Before he went to camp, he did a video, a Get Out the Vote video, which I just absolutely love, and he was raring to go. I mean, even with money. But as I told him, yes, he could have written a check, but I wanted to earn the respect of the people, and you can't earn that with people just writing checks to pay for everything. I needed to be out there and I needed to see people. The second thing is, by the time that we went into the general election, he was back at camp. And they had them separated. They could only see so many people, even have access to so many people. It was a totally different dynamic from the NFL. But he was willing to do anything and everything that I needed, and he was there with me 100%.
Now, I was sitting there watching the campaign again, and I was thinking, okay, the city of Fort Myers
Hmm.
has 3 African American politicians in place, 3 city council people. I don't want to get too specific on that, get bogged down in that, but I thought that endorsements, certainly I saw white city council people endorsing your opponent, who was a former city council person, but I didn't see the black city council people whose wards are in the Dunbar, black in the black community, and you're African American. I didn't see any of them looking like they were endorsing you. I don't know how all that works behind the scenes. I don't know if they were quietly endorsing you. People right now are waiting to hear what your answer is to that, so go.
I will say that they did what they felt was on their hearts. And I will say that with all due respect. People have a choice to support who they want to support. And they have a choice to support who they do not want to support. And they did that.
Boy, I tell you, you got all the smooth answers. Do you have any grudges? Any grudges? Do you anybody you like? I got it. I saw when I needed you, you weren't there.
No, because and not only that, I'm a very spiritual person. That eats you up.
Right.
You have to let all of that stuff go, and you move on. And that may not have been the person that God wanted to have on your side, to be beside you. There are some changes I definitely would have made, and changes that I've learned from, and things that I would do differently. Absolutely. You also have to be aware of the people that you are even associated with. I never used to worry about what people thought. But that means a lot in politics, because you can be seen taking a photograph with the wrong person, or just because you're out, fixing hot dogs, and it's misinterpreted, you know.
You were
But
learning as you were going, huh?
I
Things were like,
was.
wow, I didn't think about that, or I didn't know that was going to be that important.
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm very trusting. So I saw things as, I'm not going to shun anyone, but you really have to be careful of what people perceive. Perception is reality.
Now, hypothetically, not that you're going to do it or whatever, but if you were running for mayor again and for more years, your whole process of doing that, based on what you learned, based on what you're saying right now, would that learning curve that you had right there would be so important and so beneficial to you going forward, right?
Yes, it would.
You say you learned a lot. Tell me, that was a very interesting point that you said. Like, I don't want to. It's so much to learn, but what are like that two biggies that you learned that you would do differently?
Being very clear with regards to your platform. That's one of the things that I needed to make sure that, in retrospect, that when people came to me and they said, well, I really didn't understand what you stood for. And I need to be more clear with that, because I'm thinking that it is clear, but you also have to listen to the feedback that others give you that it wasn't.
You real big on that. Even today, before we did this interview and you were talking to Ron, you were like, hey, feedback, I'm ready.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, you just absorb it with, like, you welcome that feedback.
Yeah, constructive feedback is the best feedback that you can absolutely ever get, because it teaches you, it tells you what other people see. Because again, that's the perception, is their reality. So, but you have to be able to grow from that. But you also have to be able to be open enough to accept it and not take it as criticism, for you personally. And I've never taken a lot of stuff personally. You let it roll off your back. But when you're in politics or in leadership, because I've been in leadership pretty much all of my professional life, and you have to be able to take that feedback and internalize it and let it grow from there, and not take it personally.
That's one.
Purely professional.
Being clear on your position, so you don't leave any space there for people to misinterpret it or flip some things around. What's that second one?
The second one is really getting out and making sure when you make a decision to do something, you do it early.
Okay.
Because I started, late. And you go out and you make sure you're surrounded by the right people that are there with you for the right reasons. And I've seen this in other areas, because politics is ugly business. Oh my goodness, it's ugly. It can get ugly.
You saw a side that you didn't even know existed, huh?
Yeah, and but it's really important. And I was surrounded by a wonderful team that were very supportive of me, but they believed in me. So you really have to surround yourself with people who believe in you, and making sure you keep that plumb line for yourself as straight as possible, because you'll get to a point where you're going to be facing some things that some people that may not say not so nice things to you, and how do you go home without internalizing it and letting it go?
You have to be the leader, though. You have to have that final say, huh? I want to make sure he gets his due. From my vantage point, as one of the persons who was just like so supportive of what you were doing, was going beyond the call of duty, was our famed attorney, African American, went to high school with you.
Yes.
Proud that I went to high school with her. I grew up with her. She lived up the street. Attorney Joe North of the North Law Firm.
Yes.
He's not that outspoken in politics, but he was really out there supporting you.
Yes, he was. 100%. And, you know, and that was one of the things when we decided to put up that billboard, the second one. As I told him, I wanted that billboard not to just show a face, but I wanted to tell a story, you know, and I hope that it accomplished that, because when people saw it, I wanted them to see of some of the people that I looked up to, you know, these two powerful women, you know, and Audrey Anderson.
Melvin Morgan, Audrey
Oh,
Anderson.
yes, and you know, and what
Marcus
we,
Goodson
how
of the
far
Housing
we've
Authority.
come. Marcus Goodson and Joe North, and just seeing the background of the city, but them surrounding me in support. That told the story. That's what I wanted from City Council. That's what I wanted from the people of the city of Fort Myers, our community. If we can do it as leaders, then they will want to do it as the people. And that's where it starts at. And that's what we really need to work on here.
The your relatives seeing you running for mayor of Fort Myers, what was it like in your household, your cousins, your aunties, how were they like, wow? I mean, Jacquelyn is out here like this, all in the newspaper. What was that like?
They were shocked. They were shocked when I even decided to run, because they were like, well, you know, your moral code is always north, for one thing. And secondly, they were like, well, Auntie, you're shy. You just don't do that. You don't get out in front of people or whatever. But my niece ran for secretary of her class. And I think that was the most proudest moment for me, you know, knowing that she now wants to be more civic minded. And, you know, and she goes to Fort Myers Middle School, and seeing some of that, and being so proud of her. And she won, by the way.
Okay,
she won. And I'm just proud of being the one that has inspired them to, you know, step out of their comfort zones and do more.
great. The current new mayor of Fort Myers, Kevin Anderson. Have you guys spoken since the election has been over? Have you talked? Did you call and concede, or did he call you? I mean, just what happened behind the scene? Have y'all, anything happened?
I would have loved to have called him. I just didn't have his phone number.
Okay.
So I didn't have a contact number for him. But we did meet at a meeting, and I congratulated him.
Okay.
And I do plan on talking to him. I'm handling a lot of personal things, and plus some of the other stuff that we're getting. But I'm getting going. But I'm hoping that he does focus on what needs to be done, and strengthen this city, and get away from the politics of it and get back to the people part of it. You know, but I wish him the very, very best of luck.
Do you think that the campaign and how close you finished and everybody witnessed that sent a signal to everybody that the current status quo, the way things have been done in the past, can no longer go forward? People learn that, hey, the city is rising up to, and people see things differently.
Oh, definitely. And directly after the George Floyd incident, I wrote a newspaper article,
Okay.
and that was one of the first. And it was actually about 3:00 in the morning, because it was so heavy on my heart, and seeing some of the things of you know, how things are going here in the city, and I said then, no more. We cannot stand for this anymore. And thank God it's not as bad as anywhere else in the country. But I guarantee you, those places where that happened with George Floyd, they said that they're not as bad before it happened with him. They weren't as bad either. So we need to do it proactively. And when I decided to write that, it was it was something on my heart that needed to be said, that I'm going to say. If it was only just me, I'm going to say no more.
You mentioned early on that you are starting to mentor people. People gravitated towards you, the next generation. Just in general, you see some rising stars, particularly African-American, young African-Americans in politics around here?
Oh, definitely. I do. Chantel Rhodes, Vasha Tolbert,
Okay. Y'all getting shout outs. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes,
From the
Chantel,
Oprah. Go ahead. Make
Vasha
them famous.
Tolbert, and Howard Sapp.
Okay.
He's an alum of mine. We actually went to school. We were in school together. He's come back. He's retired. These are just some of the.
Jock was right there with you too.
Jacques Thomas for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there's so many more, and I'm very committed to any of them, any of these young people that want to do this. I want them to join me. Shout out to me on Facebook, message me on Facebook, say this is what I want to do. And it's not necessarily going into politics, but just learning about the civics end of things, learning about what those rights are, and learning your niches. Some people have these specialties in legal or data. You can read data, and how are we going to apply that to the politics? How are we going to apply that to civics? Fighting for legal equality, justice equality. How can that be applied? I know Vasha's interested in law. Let's start to utilize those skills and cultivate those skills, and that's for kids 16 on up. I'm happy for it. I'm excited. I know it's like I can barely sit still because I'm so excited.
I'm just letting you roll. It's been a pleasure to get a chance to sit here and debrief with you right after the campaign, going from 1,000 feet up to now coming back to the normal kind of normality is setting in. What was that? How's that been for you? To be there and now come back and kind of things are normal now. How's that been?
It's been good. I'm getting back. I'm able to spend more time with my grandkids, and I'm picking them up from school and getting back to that whole normal end. But I've always been a thinker and trying to figure out what I can do better and do differently and bring more knowledge to a community. And, so I can't sit still. That's just not me.
Got a new hairdo. You see that camera just quietly sitting right there? I'll give you 1 minute to make some closing comments.
Absolutely. City of Fort Myers, Lee County, we are on a different path here today. And we're looking for a different future. And anyone that's out there, my name is Jacquelyn McMiller. I was a candidate for the mayor of the city of Fort Myers. And I want you to reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. You can find me anywhere on Facebook. But touch base with me if you're interested in doing something more, doing something different, making a difference in the community that you live and having a voice. Having a voice. I want you to reach out to me on Messenger so we can start working together to change and make some changes within the city and make some changes within this local area. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. I'm going to commit to making sure that we keep getting the word out.
Definitely.
We keep you and what you're doing in the spotlight. 4 years go by real fast. There are also some midterms that are coming up that however you play it. And it's just, you just got a real bright future, and the whole idea that you are mentoring people is just so touching to hear that. And people, the younger generation is able to learn from all the things that you are learning. So just keep up the good work, and we'll catch you next time. How about that?
Thank you. That's my job. That's our job. That's what you're doing. So I'm taking your lead.
All right, stay with me. So as the saying goes on this particular show right here at Lee Pitts Live, under the tree, it's gotten dark. We've settled into the evening here in Clemente Park in Fort Myers. We're in the Dunbar community, the largest African-American and other minority community here in Southwest Florida. We're talking to the famed candidate for the city of Fort Myers, political mayor of the city of Fort Myers who made history, Jacquelyn McMiller, and we're going to continue to follow her as she goes on to become the Stacey Abrams of this area. Those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by those like Jackie and all the fine people who are associated with her fantastic campaign who are doing.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello, Southwest Florida. Thanks for watching Lee Pitts Live. Of course, I'm Lee Pitts. I hope you enjoy that particular show, but you can always catch us here on YouTube. Just click on the subscribe button down there. That way you can get your Lee Pitts Live on demand when you want it and how you want it. We also encourage you to watch our show on Fox 4 and connect with us on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live.